Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be diving into the world of semiconductors. You've
Yeah.
sent us some really interesting articles about Foxconn, NVIDIA, even some developments in China, all kind of pointing to some major shifts happening. So to kick things off, maybe you can help break this down for us. What exactly are semiconductors, and why should we even care about them?
That's a great place to start. In the simplest terms, semiconductors are these tiny chips that power pretty much every electronic device we use. Your phone, your laptop, your car. They all rely on semiconductors. And the reason they're so important, especially now, is that we're on the verge of a technological revolution, driven by things like artificial intelligence, 5G, and even more powerful computing. Semiconductors are the engine behind all of that.
Okay, so they're kind of a big deal. And speaking of big deals, one of the articles you sent was about Foxconn building this massive facility in Mexico for NVIDIA's super chips. We're talking the world's largest, specifically for the GB200. What can you tell us about those, the GB200s? I mean, are they just really fast processors, or is there more to it?
They're definitely fast, but it's more accurate to think of them as the brains behind the most powerful AI systems being built today.
Yeah.
These chips power everything from self-driving cars to those complex algorithms that seem to know everything about you.
So if Foxconn is building a facility that large, it sounds like they're expecting a huge surge in demand for AI, right?
Absolutely. But here's where it gets really interesting. Foxconn isn't just content with assembling iPhones anymore. This move into chip manufacturing, especially on this scale, signals a shift in their strategy.
What do you mean?
Think of it this way. Foxconn's known for being a manufacturing powerhouse, but they've always been the ones putting together other companies' products. Now, with this move and their ventures into electric vehicle production, they're positioning themselves to be the platform powering the future. They want to be the go-to, not just for manufacturing, but for the essential components driving the next generation of technology. Whether it's the brain of your car or the AI servers running the world, Foxconn wants to be at the heart of it.
So instead of just building the car, they want to build the brains behind it too.
Hmm.
And in the AI world, they're providing the muscle behind NVIDIA's brains, right?
Exactly. And let's not forget, these AI chips generate a ton of heat. Foxconn's expertise in things like liquid cooling and heat dissipation becomes crucial for these powerful servers to even function. It's not just about making the chips, it's about making them work reliably at scale.
And we're seeing that reflected in their own projections too, right?
Hmm.
Their Q4 outlook is pointing towards huge growth, especially in AI-related production. This partnership seems to be a win-win for both of them.
Absolutely. And speaking of partnerships, NVIDIA isn't just working with Foxconn, they've also teamed up with TSMC, another giant in the chip making world.
Right, I read something about that. They're using NVIDIA's Califo platform for this thing called computational lithography. To be honest, that sounds a little over my head.
It's actually more straightforward than it sounds. Imagine you're designing a chip, but instead of sketching it out, you have a supercomputer figuring out the absolute best way to arrange every atom. That's what Calitho allows.
Wow, so we're not just talking about making chips faster, we're talking about a whole new level of precision.
Exactly. It's not just about speed, but about unlocking possibilities that we couldn't even conceive of before. This kind of precision could lead to entirely new chip architectures, smaller sizes, lower power consumption. The implications are huge.
It sounds like this global race for chip dominance is playing out not just in factories, but in research labs and design studios too.
Yeah.
Speaking of a global race, one of the articles you sent mentioned China and their push to become, a major player in this whole semiconductor industry. I'd have to admit, I always thought of China as more of a manufacturing hub, not necessarily a leader in like cutting edge chip design.
Right. Well, that perception is changing,
Yeah.
and it's changing rapidly. China recognizes the strategic importance of semiconductors, not just for their economy, but for their technological independence. They've been investing like heavily in research and development, and we're starting to see the results.
Yeah, one of the articles mentioned that SMEC, that's a major Chinese chip maker, they saw their stock surge
Mhm.
by a whopping 28% recently. And it's not just them. Other Chinese firms like Shanghai Huahong and Fudan Microelectronics are also experiencing similar gains. That's a pretty clear signal that investors see something big brewing in China's chip future.
It definitely indicates, yeah, a strong belief in China's semiconductor ambitions, but the situation is far from simple. Remember, we talked about EDA tools, those essential software programs used in chip design?
Right, right. The ones that let you design it like the atomic level.
Exactly. Well, while China's IP revenue from semiconductors is up by 20%, their EDA tool sales have actually dropped by 24%. That's significant.
So they're making more money from their existing chip designs, but their ability to create new cutting-edge chips might be lagging behind?
That's one way to look at it. And to really understand the significance of this, we need to look beyond China's borders.
Hmm.
South Korea, for instance, they saw a 20% increase in EDA tool sales during the same period.
Wow, so it's not just about like internal challenges in China, it's about the increasingly intense competition within the entire Asia-Pacific region. It's
Yeah.
like everyone's trying to grab their share of the pie in this global chip race.
Exactly. And the stakes are incredibly high. Remember how we said semiconductors are the engines of the future? Well, control over this technology could have a huge impact on everything from economic power to national security.
Okay, so we've got Foxconn aiming to be the manufacturing platform for, well, everything. NVIDIA pushing the boundaries of AI with their chips, and China determined to carve out its space in this, rapidly evolving landscape. This has been fascinating so far, but I have to admit, all this talk of global competition and technological dominance, how does it actually impact, the average person?
That's the crucial question, isn't it? Because this isn't just about, abstract geopolitics or corporate maneuvering. This directly impacts the technology you use every single day. Imagine a world where your doctor can diagnose diseases with incredible accuracy,
Huh.
all thanks to AI-powered imaging analysis running on these powerful chips. Or self-driving cars that actually work seamlessly, because the chips powering them can process information faster than we ever thought possible.
So we're talking about a future where my phone is potentially smarter than I am, my car drives itself, and healthcare takes a massive leap forward. I'm not sure if I'm excited or scared.
It's both exciting and, yes, a little daunting. But that's the nature of technological revolutions. And remember the global race aspect. If one country or bloc gains a significant lead in semiconductor technology, it's not just about who gets the coolest gadgets first. It could determine what features are even possible, how much we pay for them, and even who has access to them at all.
So it's not just about who has the fastest chip today, it's about who gets to shape the future of technology itself.
Exactly. And that future is being shaped right now in research labs and design studios and factories and boardrooms across the globe.
It's mind-blowing to think about how these tiny chips are going to, like, reshape our world in such profound ways. And speaking of reshaping, we haven't even touched on Foxconn's move into, electric vehicle manufacturing yet. You mentioned earlier that they're not just content with building components anymore. They want to be the platform for the future.
Yeah.
So how does that play into their EV ambitions? Are we going to see Foxconn branded cars on the roads anytime soon?
That's an interesting question. While they might not be aiming for their own car brand just yet, their strategy seems to be focused on becoming, well, the brains and nervous system of those vehicles.
What do you mean?
Well, think about it. Electric vehicles are essentially rolling computers. They rely heavily on sensors, software, and yes, incredibly powerful chips for everything from battery management to those autonomous driving features everyone's talking about.
So, by building expertise in both chip manufacturing and EV components, Foxconn is positioning themselves to be, like, the go-to supplier for any company looking to build the car of the future.
Precisely. And it's not just about the hardware. Remember their partnership with NVIDIA. NVIDIA isn't just a chip maker. They're also a leader in AI software, particularly in areas like, autonomous driving.
So could Foxconn be aiming to combine their manufacturing prowess with NVIDIA's AI expertise to offer, like, a complete package for car manufacturers?
It's certainly a possibility they could become a one-stop shop, really, supplying everything from the batteries and motors to the chips and software that make those EVs intelligent and autonomous.
That's a bold vision. It's like they're building a whole ecosystem around the future of, well, mobility.
Exactly. And it highlights a crucial convergence point. We often think of industries like consumer electronics, automotive, and computing as, separate entities. But with the rise of technologies like AI and the increasing demand for interconnected devices, those lines are blurring.
So it's not just about who builds the best car or the fastest chip. It's about who can master the complex interplay between hardware, software, and artificial intelligence to create a seamless and interconnected experience.
You've hit the nail on the head, and that's what makes this whole landscape so fascinating to watch. We're not just talking about incremental improvements anymore. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how we live, work, and interact with the world around us.
And it seems like Foxconn, with their aggressive moves into both the semiconductor and EV markets, is betting big on being a driving force behind that shift.
They're certainly making the right moves, and their success or failure could have, ripple effects throughout the entire tech industry. One thing's for sure, it's going to be a fascinating journey.
Absolutely. It's like watching a tech thriller unfold in real time. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time for today's deep dive. But what a journey through the world of semiconductors. We've gone from tiny chips to global power plays, from AI-powered diagnoses to the future of mobility. A huge thank you to you, our listener, for diving into this complex and rapidly evolving world with us. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and perhaps even more questions along the way. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those intellectual gears turning.